truth to tell. Lying lips like a prison cell. Judges blind, caseworkers fall. Stealing families, no justice at all. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known. One man stands, fire in his heart. Gunner fights, tears the dark apart. CPS deep in the corruption game. He lights the match, sets it aflame. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known. Family is shattered, tears on the ground. Echoes of voices in silence drowned. We are the storm, we are the fight. Through the shadow, we'll bring the light. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known.
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on. But now it's war, this gunning foe, CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people. corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
Good evening. Welcome to Gunning for CPS. I am your host, Gunner. Welcome to another edition of Exposure, Truth, and Your Constitutional Rights. There's a lot to cover tonight. I know you guys, I've had to take a little bit of a break due to some health issues. I am feeling much better. But we've had a lot of stuff thrown at us lately. If you guys have been paying attention to Facebook and possibly TikTok following Beauty and Ashes, and several others of things that have going on, including federal witness tampering, intimidation, crossing state lines, and several other federal felonies that have been going on in this particular case. That they think that this is something they're used to doing. It's something that they have happened and done in the past, thinking that they're dealing with people that are uneducated, not familiar with the actual system, but also understanding to bind the hands of the states by filing in federal courts to where the lower courts automatically cannot adjudicate with federal things going on or actions against things that are standing or per or even predate. That is the benefits of having a federal case that a lot of people don't understand. The lower state cannot adjudicate anything if you have a case against them. It's a conflict of interest, and the higher court has jurisdiction over the lower court. Um, this is why we have encouraged everybody that has turned in and done their constitutional rights victims affidavit to send to us, binding the cases together. So when this is turned over to the DOJ, then those cases will primarily be looked at as part of evidence to look at those particular things. Some of those people will be called as actual federal witnesses in the case to testify. There's a lot that has developed over the course of the past couple of weeks. One, we are seeing CPS workers now, because of some of the work we've been doing and some of the work others have been doing out there, that we are now seeing CPS workers waking up to what is happening, as well as law enforcement. That we have, videos have been shown to them. They've looked it up, they've done their own research, and now they have come to the realization that people that are actually taking and doing and serving in public, we'll say to the public, such as law enforcement, GALs, attorneys, so on and so forth, are waking up to what is actually happening and realizing this is a criminal enterprise for what they're seeing. And now that more evidence is coming out, and the White House has already announced through the Department of Health and Human Services and through the DOJ that yes, they were running a child trafficking industry through the Department of Health and Human Services, which is also known as CPS, DCS, whatever it is. That's how those children were taken. And they're not just about the foreign kids. They are raiding across this country, along with ICE, FBI, and several others. When they're doing some of these raids, they are finding even more trafficking rings, children exposed, and several things. If you watch the news, all over the place, and sometimes things that didn't make the news. One story up in Kentucky about the sheriff actually executing the judge in his own chambers. Comes to find out that he was running a sex, like a brothel through there. That this is coming out too, that the sheriff found out that his own daughter was on that phone list, and he knew kind of like what was going on, but that it was his own daughter. Now it hits home. And I think a lot of people are waking up saying that nobody's untouchable, or you're part of this. It's like dancing with the devil. If you dip in and you know a little bit, or you're part of it, or this and that, say, well, listen, you can be blackmailed too, just as much as this. So you're going to allow me to do the same evil things to your family. You're not protected, because if you do, it'll bring all of us down. And that is what their whole basis of this is. Even within CPS, when some of the workers wake up, they realize you are now complicit in these things. You participated in this. And if you turn on us, we're going to go after you and your family. Now, I have heard this personally from interviewing CPS workers myself, that this is one of the things that they take and actually do. It's one of their tactics, which is higher up. And all of a sudden, listen, we'll keep paying you money. We'll keep doing this and all those other things. And emolument violations, which you guys can look that up, and I'll put that word in there. And you guys need to research this. And this is actually the term that's used, that is paying somebody to commit crimes or constitutional rights violations. It's actually a felony. So you guys out there that are doing your paperwork and doing your federal filings, this is a term you need to get used to using. This is a emolument violation. I think I'm pronouncing it right. You'll have to forgive me. But the concept is you're using money. You're getting paid to do this. It's like paying a hitman, so to speak, to do the same thing, which now that would classify every CPS caseworker, every supervisor, everybody all through the chain of a felony act in all 50 states because of what the state is telling them to do or instructing them to do. Now, I'm going to play for you guys a clip, and what we're talking about is this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are CPS workers flipping and coming out tremendously on numerous things and exposing, hey, I'm whistleblower for this state. This is going on. Check this out. And this is going to blow your mind because this is stuff we already all knew.
As a caseworker, I had these quotas, and we were told that if we didn't bring kids in, then we would be fired. And the way that the funding is set up is that they have to reach a quota.
Is there anything stopping them from grabbing anyone's child to meet that quota?
No, because there's really not any oversight. It's basically the caseworker that determines that need. And you're encouraged to do this because you're going to get more money for more behaviors. So your base child, you're not going to get as much for. But a child that is defiant, a runner, self-harms, you're going to get more for. The way that works is they give the foster parent $65 a day. But if you have a foster parent that knows the system, she would say, that child's behavior is too much. I'm not dealing with that child. You're going to have to give me $75 a day or $100 a day. And you're literally negotiating these rates. So they were diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, and then they're placed on psychotropic medication. What this psychotropic medication does is it actually causes them to be more aggressive and more suicidal.
Okay, guys. Wow. There it is. It says right there, the foster parent or anybody that's taking care of the kid, classify them this if they know the system. This kid is defiant. This kid is doing this, that. What's the first thing they do? Put them on psychotropic fucking medication that makes it worse. They hook your kids on drugs. Now your kid's on this medication and causes even more. Now you're causing brain damage. You're causing all sorts of who knows whatever damage to whatever organs, depending on the drugs they're taking. Look at the side effects of those things, those actual medicines those kids are on. That should scare the hell out of everybody. But here's the thing. You see how they worked hand in hand? They went right towards what? Big pharma. Put them on a big pharma drug. Right there. Put them on the state care. Put them on everything. Look, now we have to pay for this. And now this child's a great, which means what? More Title IV money. More money. Because now the kid's medicated. It's a problem. But they medicate them, giving them long-term damage to cause even more. Now they've got a child addicted to a medication that has now changed their brain chemistry. That'll probably change it for the rest of, we don't even know the studies or there's not even a lot of studies of what's going on. This is all hidden. Where's those studies of the long-term damage and effect that are doing to these kids that are on these medications? Their young minds are still developing. And if you guys know anything or have done any research that goes within a mind that's developing, especially a child, into an adult, you're talking about causing severe brain damage or damaging a part of the brain, such as deductive reasoning. Oh, yeah, to where they become what? Criminals, to where they do some of these heinous things and all those other things. They're a product then of the environment, or they end up what? Back in the system as an adult in what? Jail. They're creating their own money, their own, once again, the product. They're creating a product for the next tier. This whole system is disgusting when it comes together. Now we're seeing the connection of damage the children when they become an adult. What? Now we need more jails. Come on, people, wake up. That's why they want to get a hold of children. And here's the other thing. This is totally a Marxist, Karl Marx, right out of his playbook. Give me the children of today, and I will have the leadership and control of the power of that government and or that part of the world in the next little turn here, in the next cycle. That's exactly what this is. This is an attack on our republic with Marxism, and they're doing it under the guise of state government. And they're acting as they did in my case, or should I say our case, where they cross state lines, affecting what? State sovereignty. You can't. As soon as you cross state lines, it's a federal matter. But there's no oversight, and they planned it this way. But you know the thing that they fear is one case getting through. One case getting through and exposing everything. And a lot of people say, well, Gunnar, why are you not, scared of this? Why? Because what are you going to do to me? If you guys haven't been following, I'm in Blount County, Tennessee. And if you don't know what's going on in Blount County, Tennessee, mass exposure of pedophilia rings, of mass corruption, all sorts of stuff with the district attorney's office and everything else that's going on. It's public here. Of even a teacher that was covered up for almost 20 years. And I think there was up to 80 children involved in this that the school system moved around. And everybody covered this stuff up. There's even other evidence that we're not going to get into, but the fact that, even the local sheriff and turn around, you want to come at me, buddy? Let me tell you something. Yeah, I got some stuff on you there, bud, including the fact of you trying to influence cases, and it was covered up. So yeah, it's not a joke. You're talking about the school system, public. See, here's the problem. This is why they hate homeschooling so bad, because you as the parent are in control and not 20 to 50 other people that are complete strangers that have nothing to do with your child, knows anything about your heritage, about your religion, your belief system, or anything about your family or the things you wish to preserve and pass on to the next generation. They don't give a shit about, because they want to implement what they feel every child should have. And there's the problem. And there's the big red flag, guys. Huge red flag. I'm worried about what? The safety of everybody else's shit. What about privacy? What about the constitutional rights? Because you don't have the right to tell me. That's what the Constitution says. Mind your own fucking business. That's what the Constitution says. You worry about what's going on in your house. I worry about what's going on in my house. Other than that, you come across that threshold, Fourth Amendment, say hello to my Second Amendment. That's the way our forefathers, our writers of this country that wrote the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, so on and so forth, that's there. Go read the fucking documents. But once again, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm worked up over it. Yeah, I'm worked over it. You know why? Because our children can't read those fucking documents, because your school system failed them. Now, there are a few that still teach this. cursive, but they got by with it. They got by with not teaching our children the ability to know their rights. Not only that, when you can't write in cursive, here's another legal thing. You can never sign a contract because printing is not acceptable. In a legal thing, you have to sign a signature for a contract. That's why they hate them so much, because homeschoolers teach this stuff and their rights. Now, what are you going to do? My kids understand their constitutional rights. They know at 5 years old before they even go out with this and that. I'm not going to talk to you. I want to talk to my mom or my dad, or I want an attorney. Other than that, I'm not talking. I have a right to remain silent. Why are you not teaching your kids that at 5 years old? It would protect them and teach them to shut up, because your child has constitutional rights too. The same rights that protect you protect your children when they know how to exercise them. But you train, I don't want to deal with it. The kids are at school, they're out of my hair. I can go do this, I can go do that. Hey, I got to worry about focus about paying the bills and the money. We both work and this, that. And guess what? They got you. They got you. You want to collapse everything in here and reset everything? Take a parent out of every household that's dealing with this in a 2-family household and quit working. Workforce is gone. Well, they just took out all the illegal immigrations and everybody else that was working for pennies. You don't have to talk. Your child don't have to talk per the 5th Amendment. Teach your child. Rear your child. Teach them their rights as they grow up. There's even stuff out there, and Sharon shared it before on Beauty and Ashes, that there's even books you can order online that teach children constitutional rights in a language they can understand, even at 3-4 years old. The basics that they don't want you to. But do the public schools have any of that stuff? Why? Because it doesn't benefit the system. Kids don't need to be in a classroom 8 hours, barely getting out this and that. They don't learn nothing. You know what that's called? That's called a job when you get a job out of the school system. And you wonder why kids don't know nothing. Or you look at some of these things of these kids that are coming out of going, I don't blame them. Why they're so ignorant of things. Why? Because you sent them to a system to produce exactly what they wanted to produce. Somebody that didn't know their rights and ignorant and dependent upon a system or somebody else to wipe their butt. I've seen it systematically happen over my lifetime. You watched when Commie Core came out. Some of you remember that. Oh, that confused everything. It brought a separation between parents and children. Now you can't even educate your kids. And they fooled a lot of you. You have to do it this way. No. I had that argument. And you know who won? Me. For my kid. What does the state require? Show your work in a logical process and the correct answer. Doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. And we had that conversation and they lost. Because it's what the state said. It's all you got to have. Your teaching method doesn't mean they may have a different way of doing things. Not every kid learns the same way. And you know that because if you have kids, and it's funny how these people writing half of this crap don't even have damn kids. Are you serious? You've never been a parent. You've never had to get up in the middle of the night as the kid's running a high fever, trying to cool it down. You've never had to take and change, a diaper that, they've shit up the backside to where it's in the back of their hair and everything up all through their clothes. You've never experienced none of that. And you're going to try and tell me how to raise a child? Kiss my ass. You communist bastard. Yeah, communist. Because you have no experience. And how dare you try to write policies, procedures, and everything else with zero experience. And that's where your laws and everything else need to change. You must have experience doing this. Not, well, I babysat somebody, or I did this or this. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. You are not. You have never had those things that parents really, really go through. Worry about that child. Some of us, and different parents have had to be in an emergency room or in a hospital with a life-threatening something going on with your child. I don't see them showing up and staying up there all night by the child's bed and won't leave. Where were you when all that stuff? Nowadays, yeah, they'll come knocking. What did you do to cause this? I didn't. I've seen people have their kids. I've heard stories where they come to find out their kids were taken away for stuff they were exposed to in a public school. Oh, yeah, they got sick from going to school. And then you've got this whole child trafficking, pedophile ring, and everything else that's being exposed at the city, and a serial rapist in Johnson City, Tennessee, they just did a settlement on this. They weren't taking reports from the women and children and stuff that were being raped because this person had contracts with the city. Go look that up. That ain't going to hit, major news or national news outlets. Failure of your government system to do its job. But see, that's where they forget, because they expect everybody else to fix it for you. When those systems fail, our Constitution is very clear on what to do. You take matters into your own hands under the Constitution. It's constitutionally sound. Now, will the state like that or anything else? No, but you got to get in the right court to fight it. Go to a federal court. Did I not, when they failed, do I not have a right to correct this? Yes. Yes, you do. I did report it. I did do this. I did do that. I did all the things they were supposed to do. Why do you think the Second Amendment's in there? The Declaration of Independence is in there. Because when a tyrannical government gets to a point to where your petitions to the courts and everything else is not heard, but the evidence is presented, you have not only a right, it says you have a duty to tear it down. Read it, guys. Those are our founding documents. And here's the other thing. Every single one of your states, if you ever have to face it, has a clause in there that defaults back to the original Constitution. Every single one of them. Well, we don't do that. They're playing a game. Same way CPS and the rest of them. Well, we don't have to follow. We have our own policies, procedure, this, that. Even your own state constitution defaults back to being constitutional. Every single one of them. Go look it up. Because I've looked at all 50 states. There's a clause in there for every single one of them. Every single one of them goes back and says, and defaults must line up with the Constitution. It acknowledges the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Wow. Big difference. Big difference. Now, I'm going to mess you up with this one. This one kind of hurts. And for those of you out there that are law enforcement, this is the truth. This is one of your own calling you out. Let's watch this, guys.
And they want to know my story and how I came to know so much knowledge. I quit being a police officer October 1st of last year. I was a detective, sergeant, SWAT team, instructor. I did all sorts of stuff. I've shown you guys the receipts. But people always ask me, what caused me to quit? What caused me to look at things differently? And how did I gain so much knowledge about all this stuff? Well, the biggest reason why I quit policing is that I realized that this system is only meant to keep us divided. Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. Now, as a police officer, and this is where it's going to get hairy, cops don't realize they're out violating people's rights every single day. Because every state has its own penal law, and then you have federal law. Penal law is not real law. And just hear me out with this. Law is so incredibly subjective. No crime is looked at the same because every officer has different perspectives. Every prosecutor has different perspectives. Every quote-unquote suspect, defense attorney, and judge all have different perspectives. Law is so incredibly subjective that it's not fair across the board whatsoever. There is a good old boy system that exists. 100% it exists. And that's one of the reasons why I couldn't morally be a police officer anymore. Corruption, moral corruption, is just as bad as any other corruption. When you're being forced to do things as a police officer that don't make you feel good, that's called moral corruption. And the violation of people's rights, that directly comes from the bosses and the people above the bosses' heads. The police, I'm going to go out on a limb and just talk in general here, okay? But the majority of the police officers want the same thing for their families as you do. Don't get me wrong. There are some seriously, deeply corrupted agencies, especially in places like in Appalachia and places that don't have much money, because there's no accountability and no transparency. And they do that purposefully as well. Just like they have different laws in every state. More confusion, and they do that purposefully as well. I was a police instructor, taught hundreds of students, and I had to start realizing that not everybody looked at things from my perspective as a police officer. Demographically speaking, I live in upstate New York. I reside about an hour north of the city of Albany, the capital in New York. But I was an instructor at the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Training Academy in Schenectady, New York for many years. With that, I've literally taught hundreds of students, and I've got to work with a lot of different professionals, knowing them on a personal level that most people don't get to know police officers. Now, I'm not defending the police. I'm not defending criminals. I'm not defending anybody. What I will say is that this whole entire system was designed to keep us divided. Cops don't realize the evil that they are serving, and that evil is the Commercial Code of the United States Corporation. This is a fact, Jack. Cops think they're out there defending and serving and not realizing that they're violating constitutional rights every single day. Now, police officers, if you're listening to me, you're going to know exactly where I'm coming from. How many times did your boss go and say to you after you handled something, well, why didn't you get that person's ID? Why didn't you get their name? Why didn't you identify them? When you had no legal justification to do so, but your bosses just wanted you to do it because that's what we do. This all comes from the state government to the county government to be enacted into law and code across the board. The police are weaponized against the citizens. And it's disgusting. It's manipulation.
Sorry, I had to fix that there. If you listen to what he said laws and codes. That is a misconstrued statement across every state. States don't have laws. The only laws in our land are passed by Congress, federal laws. All states have to abide by them. States, the commercial code he's talking about is the statutes and codes. Okay. I hope you guys can hear me now. I think I fixed it. Yes, no. I'll wait a minute because I know there's a delay. Let's see here. Can you guys hear me now? Hello, hello. Let me reset this. Okay. I think we've corrected the problem now. Okay. So let's get back to what he was saying. This is a misconception. He said laws and codes. No, those are statutes and codes. Statutes and codes are not laws. Okay. The only people that can pass laws in our country is Congress. That power is reserved specifically for Congress of the United States government. A lot of people will see, and you'll hear law enforcement use this a lot, or judges or magistrate. Well, it's state law. No, it's statutes and codes. And those statutes and codes only apply to commercial when you're operating commercially. Why? Because case law has already said all statutes and codes, there's one other one that goes with it, are unconstitutional and they lack due process. Therefore, it's not for we the people. That's already been determined, but we've been fooled or coerced, or as he was trying to say, we've been intimidated to do those things, and they've been taught this is actually the law. The same way with operating with a license, for example, is for commercial only. They've tricked you into getting a license. You don't need a license to travel, operate privately, and everything else. People have won tons of federal cases on that same concept. Okay. If you're willing to take that fight yourself, but trust me, once they realize you've won that fight and you've gone all the way to the federal court on it, which some people have, and they've kicked their butts all over the place. And you'll hear several talk about it. And there's lawsuits that go over this. And like I said, it doesn't even get to the point once you file the federal suit. Usually it's, hey, here's a non-disclosure agreement. Here's a check. Have a nice day. And we're going to leave you alone. That's what a lot of people are getting on those cases when they take it all the way to the federal level, because it is a violation. There's already established case law on it, and it's not hard to find. But they prey on your ignorance. Once again, what we were talking about, public education and everything else, and the failure of it is the fact that they want you dumb and ignorant so they can take advantage of you and manipulate you. And as you've heard us talk about before with circles of trust and boundaries, and being able to identify red flags and people that manipulate, they're huge. There's huge things. Anytime somebody wants to volunteer to take care of something that is a huge thing, you have to question, what is your motives? If your motives are, we're here to protect the children. Okay, protect the children against what? Protect their constitutional rights? Because you're not doing it. To protect the rights of the parents? Nope, you're not doing that, even within family law. See, family courts were designed by states. They're not even a legal constitutional court when they're challenged. They're not. Because, once again, it's an Article 1 court that they're going to. Well, here's the other problem. They're adjudicating to where it's the state, like in ours is, that we have in our case, one of the big things is it says the state of so-and-so, Tennessee, Department of whatever, that's still a representative of the state versus, say, myself or whatever. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, that goes through there. No state, all cases, it says all cases, all, not some, all cases where the state is a plaintiff or defendant, the federal Supreme Court has original jurisdiction. Then why are they adjudicating? Because they're getting away with it until somebody calls them out. which is exactly what the reckoning does, which is exactly what We the People's Case does. It brings all of this to the forefront. And now, since they've crossed state lines, it opens the door to all 50 states to expose them all, only facing 2 states. Why? Because they're guilty. And we have the evidence to prove it's retaliation. If you've noticed some of the videos, it even says in the state of Kentucky, when the lady comes up, we're here on behalf of the state of Tennessee. What? You're here to adjudicate something in another state based off of stuff in another state? No, the way that works is you recall them back to the original state of jurisdiction and say you've done it, but you can't do it if there's no legal precedence. But this is how CPS operates. We're not going to follow the law. We're not even going to follow our own state's laws and everything else, let alone, oh, wait, did we share a juvenile case, the sealed juvenile case that requires a judge's signature and everything else and give it to another state? Yes, you did. That's a felony. Judge has to sign off on a case for it to be shared by law, both state and federal law. That's right. So see, now you've opened the door for us. We don't have to fight or argue to go, Your Honor, this is happening in all 50 states. But the first thing they're going to come back with is say, well, it hasn't happened to you personally. Yeah, no, it has. Thanks. You just made our jobs so much easier to prove in court and stand up for every parent and every person in all 50 states to expose you in all 50 states exactly what you're doing. That's why it's called the reckoning in the We the People's Case. Why? Because you just slung the door open for us. Whoops. And you thought you were slick, but you're not. Because see, the Constitution stands on our side. The amount of laws and felonies that you've racked up, just in my case, our case, yeah, we got all of it. Every single bit of it. Yeah, and still dragging people to stuff, like I said, to deal with this stuff. So if you guys are, like I said, you guys want to show support, especially with some of this stuff that's going on this Wednesday in Madison County, Kentucky, you guys are more than welcome to protest or do anything you want in support of Sharon with the stuff that's going on with the illegal stuff and hold them accountable. From my understanding, I believe there's supposed to be a whole brood of people there protesting, even from out of town, including several different people. Once again, guys are more than welcome to make your voices heard and go down there this Wednesday. I believe, I don't know the time of that particular thing. I believe it's about 9-10 o'clock or something like that. I'm sure she'll put it in the comments. That's Beauty and Ashes. You guys are there and want to do that. Yeah, they're going to do a small protest there when it comes down. And Amy, you're right. Amy, if you guys look at Amy in the comments over here, when it comes down through some of those things here, the high court has power. When you file something in a higher court, such as the federal court, the state, it locks them up. You can't adjudicate. You can't this, you can't this, you can't anything. And as soon as they did, we ran right down to the federal courthouse and put everybody's damn name right on the case. Now you're in trouble, including, everything out there. Big D, if you're looking, check your email. I sent you a link that may make that thing a lot easier to take care of. That's a Drive link, and it has a dedicated folder. So stick with that right there, buddy. That may take care of a few issues of the stuff. I know you're trying to send some stuff to me. Go back that way. But guys, even what Amy was talking about, and I'll scroll through some of this other stuff when she was talking about the supremacy clause. All this stuff is documented, guys. We share the information. And I thank you guys out there in the audience that pick up and fill in the paperwork or do some of those things that I may skim over. But a lot of times, the great thing about our audience and everything else is they're out there sharing that information. This is where you can reference this stuff. This is why we love you guys, and we love our audience out there to share that information, to share that love, to share that education, because that's what they're scared of. They're terrified of that. Let alone, we also have the access to all their bonds. There's a subpoena out there for all their bonds. And if you'll list all their bonds, the bid bond, the insurance bond, all the performance bond, all those different things, you're going to find out that they're adjudicating this stuff and they're making money off of this by taking out bonds. So your case is stacked against you because the longer they keep you in there, they're profiting more off of it. So these courts are for profit. They're acting like a bank. Yeah, scary shit, isn't it? Now imagine this going on for decades. Oh, I said decades. 100%. Now, when we talked about, just earlier that goes down on emolument thing, that goes back to, and there's a post, if you guys follow me on Facebook, it's in through there. Article 1, Section 10, the Constitution does that, as well as the 14th Amendment that goes through that. So you guys can go back and go through the true bill and everything else. Yeah, guys, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. They're doing this shit. They're doing stuff for profit. So they got a fucking job because the only other good thing they're good for is digging a fucking hole. $7 million per felony. Whoa. I mean, guys, you got to wake up to this stuff, and you guys keep fighting in these state courts. I keep telling people, file this, and I keep telling them, hey, these are your options. It's up to you what you do. And like, I filed this, and now I'm just looking over here. I'm like, oh my God, you're in the state Supreme Court. Why are you filing this in the state Supreme Court? Well, I thought that I was supposed to do with, no, the federal court. The federal court's the only one that has jurisdiction on constitutional rights violations. And keep it simple, just about that. Don't add all your evidence. Get your case in the door. Then add your stuff to it. Make it all about constitutional rights violations. Due process. Why? Because this wasn't done in court. One, especially in this, hey, they're trying to do a felony, a criminal code in civil court. Well, if it's a criminal code, you got to have a jury. Was there a jury? Nope, didn't have no jury. We got a problem. SEC versus Jarsky, as soon as they have that power, even to find you in contempt of court or anything else, or try and put a gag order on you, guess what? Should have had a jury. Gag orders, unconstitutional, 100%. Freedom of speech, it automatically takes care of freedom of speech. That's one of the things they try to turn around, and it's like, hey, I know a way to get rid of that. Why? Go get your press credentials. As soon as you show those press credentials, Your Honor, freedom of the press. You can take that gag order and shove it where the sun don't shine. Yeah, Darren says over here, when they find you guilty by grand jury, you get a true bill. In other words, the true bill. $7 million per felony. So if you walk in with multiple felonies in criminal court, it's $7 million per felony charge. That's a true bill. And you can look that up by the case number on Fidelity. But see, they're doing these other things now. They're making money off of this other stuff in these lower courts by taking your kids and everything else. And there's even laws and other things that are coming up, that people are coming up saying, unless you've been convicted of a crime, you're not even supposed to take the children. Convicted. Wow. Never been convicted of a crime, but you've been TPR'd? Felony. Kidnapping. Show me where the crime I've committed. I never went before a jury. I've never been indicted. Never been arrested. Never seen a criminal case courtroom. Never once. No, but they're going to take and frame you up just like you have one. because you talk about constitutional rights, and when you went down the rabbit hole, we can't have them exposing constitutional rights. You start screaming constitutional rights, yeah, they're going to stack you up with as much as they can and bury you and frame you and smear your damn name. It don't matter anymore. Trust me. Went through it. Yeah, and all your case numbers you can trace back to a bank routing number where they put a hold on it, just like, it put so much in a bank account. Because, they'll go at the end of the thing, slap down the gavel, boom, case dismissed. GALs and lawyers and everything else, make sure you're turning your receipts for your hours and everything else so you can get paid. That's what the magistrate said. How are you getting paid? Here's one. We're going to force you without a written order. Here's the thing. Even though the judge runs his mouth and says it, unless it's on paper, you ain't got to do shit. Well, I told you, nope, Your Honor, wasn't in your written order. Your written order is the only thing that matters. So when you force somebody to go to a CAC center or do this or do that, and it's not in the judge's orders, that's voluntarily. I ain't doing shit unless you put it in the order, Your Honor. Oh, yeah. How many of you have been forced into a CAC center for this therapy or that therapy or go through this or go through that? For what reason, Your Honor? What crime have I committed? I'm not contracting you. I have to volunteer to contract with you. You forcing me into a contract? Coercion? Coercion to contract? I think you guys have seen the video. You see the guy with the glasses. You'll scroll through some of my previous videos on Facebook. He talks about coercion and retaliation with the USC code, with the federal code. And I know one of my people out there is going to take and find it. Maybe Amy will. But it's the USC code on retaliation and coercion. It's a federal crime. It's a felony. It's a felony to do that, even to contract. You can't intimidate me. It's like putting a gun to your head and saying, sign the contract to get your, that type of stuff. Ray, it looks like you've got, I'm just reading through, and that's a lot to put in there on the screen. You guys can look through there. And we've got some other people in the audience here that goes through some of those things. That's always 331. I don't know exactly what state you're in, but if you're on Facebook, hit me up on Facebook to let me know what state you are. And we've got some resources just about in every state. If not, I can hook you up with some people that might be able to help more in particulars with the case. I don't deal with that primarily as like an advocate type thing. I'm just a reporter, and our focus of a lot of things is constitutional rights, and particularly the case that we're going through and the case that we're building to do that. There's a lot of corruption going on. And one thing that we do need to cover, guys, is a lot of things where people talk about my abuser or this abuser, and it goes both sides. If you do not have documented police reports of this or convictions in that is considered hearsay. Going into a courtroom, especially a family courtroom, and saying my abuser or my this or my that, and you haven't got it entered on the criminal side of it, should never enter a civil courtroom. And that's by law. That's being legal. Okay. You must take and have that documented stuff in criminal court and show the history to claim it. Otherwise, any decent judge should call it out as hearsay. And believe it or not, with the way the courts are going and the way that they're doing that, they're finding out a lot of judges have let that in on both sides. It doesn't matter the man or the woman. They're abusive, but there's no criminal thing of it. It's a hearsay rule. It's not admissible in court. We have got to really watch what we're doing and going in because of situations. And I'm sorry if you didn't report things before or you didn't document it before. These are things that need to go through. And I know a lot of you guys are like, hey, I need help in this state. I need help. There's a lot of advocates out there trying to help you when you're in the state part. We're in the federal courts and we're looking at abolishing CPS nationwide. And we have the evidence and everything else to prove it and do it under constitutional rights violations. In other words, you're operating unconstitutionally and you have been for a certain period of time. If you guys, we've got a new show that's in the network. It's our ADA guy, Henry. If you guys have not checked that out,
reach out to me all the time, and
you guys need to check that out. That we've got the new show there, and you'll have to forgive me. Let me find it here for old Henry. It's a brand new show on the CPS Breaking News Network. If you guys have got American with Disabilities Act issues, so on and so forth, that you're dealing with, you believe that there's an ADA violation, man, this guy is a killer resource. Henry Marciano. And his new show on the network, if you guys are on YouTube, you can go and follow it on YouTube, hit the like button, and when it comes up and it pops on, I don't know the schedule yet. We're still working on, we're going to do a brand new calendar. So if you guys are following on Facebook, we will release the calendar release of the CPS Breaking News Network, updated calendar. We've got some new shows coming out, equal and the same. And that's the ADA advocate show that's going to talk completely about your ADA violations, how to go about doing them, how to make sure that you're doing them, where to file, what to do, all those things. If you have things with disabilities, so on and so forth, go like him on Facebook, Henry J. Marciano. I'm going to try and put it in here. I don't know if Henry's listening tonight, but I will put his name and right here. He's on Facebook. He's also on YouTube. Like I said, his show. So if you guys have got ADA stuff, perfect thing. We've got Becca coming out with another one. She's one that actually won against CPS on several occasions, getting her kids back. We're getting her onboarded. Our management or our producer team is working on getting that on board. So we are growing as a network because we are making an impact. If you guys have not followed with Facebook, there are several people that have come on board with the reckoning. Connie Regula, if you guys don't know her, she's basically out of Tennessee. She was an attorney. They got disbarred for standing up for unconstitutional things, and they turned on her trying to protect a family. There's history on that. Like I said, whether you like them or not, that's fine. I know now Jessica Saxon, I know she runs with Tanawa Downing. I've reached out to her. She also has a case in the same county. So there is some familiarity as far as Tanawa's of what they're doing. And from my understanding, they're just going back and forth to different places, putting them on notice, giving them, informing them of the constitutional rights violations, the emolument violations, so on and so forth, and basically trying to wake them up to do the right thing and get some of the politicians to correct some of their actions, so on and so forth. You got Dave Weigel. I believe I have a meeting with him, his second in command. With Dave Weigel actually was on, I believe it was Tiff and Punisher show, that I actually talked with him when he was dealing with like family courts and the corruption in family courts for, fathers' rights. And some of the things that were going on there. He's got a great reach out to that. He was just recently at the woman that had lost her life at her remembrance ceremony. I know he had given a speech there. But you're going to, Dave's on there. Let's see. I'm trying to cover everybody, guys. There's a lot of people that have reached out. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Armano, and you're going to have to forgive me once again. My brain is fried. I can't remember. I know you guys can think about it. She's actually a lobbyist in DC that actually is lobbying. And I know you guys know who I'm talking about. I can't remember. I don't know why my brain's farting through here. Francesco Amato. There it is. Francesco's on board. She knows what's going on. She's working on some changes. She's got a bill that's coming up. She's trying to get passed through the Senate, through the houses right there. a bill to take and change a lot of things. If you guys are not familiar with the bill that she's got going on, check out her website, as well as she's on Facebook, Francesca Amato. Great resource right there. And if I'm forgetting somebody, guys, you'll have to forgive me. Like I said, with going through everything, it's just been a lot. I know one of our other corresponding people, Chris out of Chicago, is exposing several things in Illinois. She's on board with the reckoning. Sometimes she's on here when she can. Good gosh, there's just so many that have just come on board after reading the case and everything else that's been going on. Of like, hey, we want to join up with you. We want to support you. We know what you're doing in your case. We know you're doing full exposure. I mean, it's just huge. Like I said, a big turnout with a lot of people. And I think we did a small post on it. And I know there's a couple more. And guys, you'll have to forgive me. And just follow me on Facebook, and you can take and get those in here. Just follow, like I said, Dana, I believe I'm saying that right now, McDaniel. Go to my Facebook page. It's Gunner Evers. Just send me a friend request if we're not friends. They're all in that group, and you'll see the stuff pop up and people talk about it, because it's a great little group. They all have their own avenues. And listen, guys, us coming together, whether we're fighting on this aspect, or you're fighting on this aspect, or this aspect, it all comes down to exposing this corrupt system for what it is. Oh God, I can't remember. Meg. Oh, Stand with Meg. Stand with Meg is another one. Meg's a great lady. I love her to death. She's such a sweetheart. She's not a very confrontational person. She just wants to educate and love on people and just expose everything. Sometimes there's politics with this, where somebody say, I don't like this person and I don't like that person. You know what? They're still doing something. They're still out in the public. They're still doing something to try and bring awareness to bringing kids home or corruption. And you know what? It doesn't always have to be the cleanest, we'll say the cleanest vessel for things to come in. And I've heard a lot of things, and a lot of people there's some people that have gone psycho, literally psycho, over, oh my gosh, you're aligned with this person. Do you know this? I go, that's it, you know, but what are you doing? You're not out in the public eye. You're not doing these things. You're not traveling. You're not in the Senate floor. You're not this and that. Why are you taking it? And once again, you may not like the person, but do you like what they're doing to help promote awareness of this stuff? We're going to have to sift past that and get over ourselves and say, I may not like some of the things about a person, but here's the thing. I like something about what you're doing. And that ain't no different than somebody that used to be a cracked out, you know, street walking whore that turns around and in their past life, but they have made massive changes. And now they're advocating for people being clean and looking at alternatives and trying to help everybody else. You know what? You've seen the error of your ways. You have, we'll say the word repented, turned away from it is what we'll say through there. Yeah. Sharon's got this stuff right here, right there in the comments right there for you guys following us. A couple of these others. There's a lot of others, and there's others that are on our team that are doing things. You got Tiff and the Punisher that are kicking out. If you guys don't know Tiff, you'll love Tiff. Tiff actually is part of her chapter of the NAACP. So she has a lot of pull and a lot of influence over a lot of things. See, a lot of people say, wait a minute, that's not for that. How is that? She's a white girl. The NAACP has evolved so much. It's not just about color of skin anymore. It's about civil rights. And they can come in and they've got a lot of influence in a lot of things. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, get with Tiff, talk with her about it. Once again, have those conversations. Don't assume something on hearsay. You want to know something about somebody, go talk to them personally. Quit all this other bullshit. Well, I heard, but do you know? See, there's our problem. Hearsay. Why would you not, if you're not going to accept hearsay, if you're going to accept hearsay in your life, what are you bitching and moaning about having hearsay in a courtroom? Sorry. Call it like I see it. You don't like me? There you go. So there's all of that stuff going on that a lot of people don't understand. that you're going to have to get to somebody personally that maybe there's something to it. There's a lot of people that have got all sorts of stuff going on in their life, or they're fighting their own battles. And because they've been labeled something. I mean, you're talking about people that have been labeled this or labeled that. And literally, you don't think now that I've seen the things I do, I seriously question how many people are actually on some of these lists that they say are child abusers or this or this or that. Now, knowing and looking at the system, is that true? Or did you frame somebody? Because it's really easy to frame somebody in family court because there's no constitution in there. And they will put all sorts of stuff on there. They will drain your bank accounts, and they will target people with money to drain your bank accounts. They will take you from a middle or even higher, higher middle income and drag you all the way down and empty everything you have, rub your name in the mud, everything. They even target small business owners. Yeah, to run your businesses out. Who benefits from that? Big corporations, big businesses, people that have been in business and has influence with all your local politics and this and that. Big organizations, bigger than what you were, and they don't like the fact you're coming up so fast. Yeah, they'll turn on you. And so many different people. Wait a minute, I was, this and that, and they said I was this, and the same was this. It all goes around. Because if you truly follow the Constitution, we've got several cases even in this county that I know a couple different things that if the Constitution truly applied, it wouldn't be a problem. Wouldn't. Because the case would be dismissed. From what? From a poisonous tree. Yeah. One of them starting out with somebody that says, "Oh, I smell marijuana." Good, officer. Can you tell me the difference between THC A, B, and C with your nose or with your dog? You can't. So there goes your probable cause. Ouch. But then things got escalated, didn't they? But your probable cause went out the window for what? Search. Seizure. I smell this. Now I can... Tell me, which one is it, officer? Because now with these things out there, you can't tell the difference. Matter of fact, they had to reduce, and this is the other thing they don't want to tell you. Just in Tennessee, the hemp growers ended up taking and suing the state of Tennessee for their testing methods because they were doing hemp, THC A and B, testing it, and it was coming out as testing as being C, the illegal. Come to find out, here's the plan in a controlled substance. This is 100% legal. Here's the chemical composition and everything else. Your testing methods are false. Now, did the state of Tennessee go back on all their cases and go back and retest for everything for that? Nope, absolutely not. Instead, they expect you to find that out and file your own appeal based off of that new evidence. People assume that once something's done, or say a judge gets taken down, as it did here in Blount County, Tennessee. We had a Blount County, Tennessee magistrate aid and abet with her son to destroy child pornography and hide it. Was arrested, and now I believe she's been indicted and actually serving time for it. So now what? What about all the cases that judge adjudicated? You got to start following your paperwork, people. You got to keep watch of this shit. Well, that judge handled mine, this and that. Now comes into the question the integrity of the judge for the entire time, or magistrate. They've been sitting on the bench. Yeah, you can make that claim, but they're not going to tell you that. Are they? Are they going to do the right thing and clear the record and clear everything else? No. They expect you to do it. Why? Because that would mean that they've done something wrong. See, that's where the liability and the insurance and everything else comes into play that they don't want to tell you about. Now you can hold them accountable and sue them, but they don't want you to know that because they'd be broke. See, if you guys knew everything else that you could do and start going and running to federal court and holding these people accountable in the federal courts and suing the shit out of them over and over and over again, like those people did over in Johnson City, Tennessee. Yeah, you know what happens when they get so much and they can't get insurance and they're sued like hell? I think it was like a 85 million. You guys look back at it. I think it was 85 million. Don't quote me on that. Go watch the video on my page. It's there for the report on that. Absolutely. Imagine a city or a county that can't get insurance. What does that mean? They can't operate. There's no more adjudication. That means no more police cars, no more this, no more that. The county and everything else is going to have to figure out what they're going to do, because now they can't even tax. They're broke. So what do they do in most places that you'll see that? They raise taxes. Why do you think places like Chicago, New York City, and everything else are so damn expensive? Because their insurance is so high because of all the corruption. Boston, Massachusetts, same way. Look at those cities that have the most corrupt police forces. Then go look at their insurance policies and how hard it is for them to get insurance. If they don't have insurance, they can't operate. You bankrupt them. All you guys filing the CPS cases and everything else, state, federal government, everything else, as soon as everything and all this stuff starts going downhill, file your cases and file and file and file and file till you bankrupt the bastards until they're out of business. What happens then? Well, guess they're going to have to give up things like, give your property back. No more taxes. Why are you paying for somebody else's mistakes? I'm not going to pay for that. Then you turn around and sue them again. Why am I paying for this? You screwed up. I didn't. Take all their stuff. See, that's how you win in the courts. You bankrupt them. Now they're bankrupt. They can't operate. Where are they going to get any money? There's no insurance. Can't operate without insurance. One claim without insurance, it's the same thing as them trying to do that commercially. You're operating without insurance. Now the federal government comes in and they go, we're going to seize it. Now all of a sudden your town or your county becomes unincorporated again. What happens then? You just live under the Constitution. Very simple. Like we should be. All these other cities and corporations and all these other businesses and all that other shit don't apply to us. And when you start bankrupting them, there you go. Now they can't operate. Now, a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to get madder than hell as elected and appointed officials. Well, that means my job and everything. Congratulations. Go build something and be productive. Dig a hole. Well, I've got a college degree and I've got this. That don't mean shit to me. If all else you're good is taking and stealing people's money and committing crimes and conspiracy and defrauding and everything else, and that's how you make your living, I'd be ashamed of myself. That's why they say a lot of blue collar workers, you rest your head on the pillow real good. Why? Because you put in an honest day's work. We're in dire need of electricians, plumbers, HVAC, builders across this country, welders, all this stuff. You've got mechanics walking off because engineers, everything's been taken over by the cars of engineers. Hey, I got to take the whole cab off this truck just to work on this one part. You know how many labor hours that is? And let alone the recalls. The recalls that never in my life have I ever seen so many recalls on so many vehicles, let alone I'll be dead honest with you. Chevrolet in your transmissions, dear God. Dodge in your rear ends, holy crap. And then some of the other things, I mean, they've all got their little ticks and tricks, and you think, well, that's why we just buy foreign. Did you see the recalls that were coming off the Kias for the engines blowing up? Or Hyundai, the same thing, or this or that, or Nissan with their transmissions, with their Evos and everything else. You're talking about people that put out a product and it was crap. Whatever happened to having pride in our work and being American? We used to have pride in some of that stuff. Not anymore. Now it's the cheapest as we can go and go along. And then they turned you on to Amazon, and then they turned you on to Temu and got as much as the cheap stuff and everything else. And then they're finding out they're sending over stuff that has lead paint in it. How is this even getting across our borders? Lead paint and some of these other things that, kids putting this stuff in around. Now we're dealing with lead poisoning again in our country. Yeah. And some of the other things you guys have seen recalls on. I don't know, man. Something's got to change in this country, but it's got to change with the people. Because we, the people, run this shit. The people that are elected and appointed officials and actors, they work for us. The contract of the Constitution was written by we, the people, to what? Not restrain the people, to restrain those that are working in government positions. You're taking out farmland and everything else, like James is saying. Hey, man, affordable housing. Whatever happened to housing to where you had enough room for a house and you had a yard and everything else, but then we kill all the plants and everything. Hey, we've got a ton of things with heart issues, but we're going to kill the dandelion plant. You know the power of the dandelion plant for the heart? Blow your mind. But what do? They come up with Roundup that kills it. And then you spray the Roundup stuff on it. Hey, that gives you a whole different type of something else. Why are we killing the plants that we got to start questioning? Why am I looking to kill this or kill that? Or herb gardens or this, that. In New York City, you can't even have little pots and anything else in your little square bedroom apartment. What happened to having herb gardens, to having small gardens, to having a little flower bed that has little herbs or things like that you could do, like cilantro or some of these other things? I mean, come on, guys. We used to have little gardens in our yards, even growing up, or we had a community garden as growing up, because my grandparents went to a church and they actually had a dedicated area to where everybody from the church had a section, and they all decided what they were going to plant. And they plant all these different things throughout the different parts of the garden. And then they all shared. They got what their family needed. And the rest of it, they brought together to the table. Hey, we've got extra. Our family's got enough to make it for another year till it's next year to plant. Our freezers are full and everything else. They're sharing at the same time. They would barter with some of their stuff. That's just one of those things. But once again, we forgot the part of community. We forgot the part of bartering and trade. You realize you could trade vegetables? If I'm growing nothing but watermelons in my backyard and everything else, and you've got, say, corn or beans or squash or this or that, you want a watermelon? Let's you and I do some trading. You know what that costs you? Zero. You know how much tax is on it? Zero. Because we're doing something called old-fashioned bartering and trading, and the government doesn't have to be involved, in a grocery store or a third person is not involved. Go right to the source. Let's do some trading. We don't do that anymore. Now, with the power of the internet and the thing called a farm share, you don't even have to deal with the middleman. You can go to some of these places, sign up for a farm share, and buy your stuff directly from the farmer. Some of the farmers have teamed up. Believe it or not, some of them have a co-op that they sell from a co-op in certain places. I know we've utilized a few of those. Hey, get your beef here. We've also got your laundry soap and all your ground spices and everything else from private companies or little mom and pop places. So you can order as you need and this and that, or this is what we have. And once it's sold out, it's sold out. Just that simple. It happens like that, but we forgot to come together as a community. And that's part of what we're doing here in the Reckoning, is waking you guys up, waking up your communities, getting together with the people. You're going to identify the toxic motherfuckers that are in your community that are nothing but backbiting. They love to spread the rumors and all the other shit. You know what? Back in the day, we didn't bother with that shit. We knew who they were. But now you've got the internet and you've got keyboard warriors, and run their damn mouth with all a bunch of hearsay and just smear somebody, and there's nothing to do about it. What are you going to do? This, that. I'll tell you what we used to do. That's called a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
And when you got that ass whooping, you took your licks and then you learned your damn lesson. And most of the time the cop, but now the police have overdone it. Well, that's assault. No, that's called correction. Same thing I've done to, not beating your kids like that. But when my kid needed corrected, that needed to be corrected. But back in the day, where we have demasculated our whole society, it used to be you both threw fucking hands and it was done. You shook hands and it was done. It was over with. We didn't deal with that stuff. Let them fight it out. Let them get it going. I mean, there's a big difference when it's 2-on-1, a big thing, but 1-on-1, keep it clean. Now I'm too old for that shit. Now we're going to bring out, I ain't going to fight with you. I'm not going to deal with you. Get the hell away from me. And that's just the way it is. But once again, you learn to mind your own business. But some of these people, to be honest with you, need a good smack in the damn mouth, to be honest, to quit running that damn mouth. And y'all know who I'm talking about because you all got the same thing. And there ain't no consequences anymore for running your damn mouth. And there needs to be. Not just in the courts. And you know what? That's why this country was so great, because we didn't put up with that shit. You run your mouth like that. And here's the other thing that happened. You know what else is funny? We didn't have all this other shit going on back then neither. Guys beating on their wives, children getting molested and all that other shit. Oh, no, and no. It got dealt with. When the police came around, was to clean up the mess. And they didn't see nothing. And took them off. And then prosecuted them. That's back when it worked. Why? Because then we, the people, were in charge of it. It was justified. It was justice. Did you kill them? No, but they got the shit beat out of them. Same way with some of these pedophiles and some of the other things that you know, and you got hard evidence out of it. Same way with that sheriff, with that judge. You know what? My opinion, let the sheriff go. Let the sheriff go. Because you know why? Who was going to take out the judge? He knew that he was untouchable, and the only way to deal with it was taking things into his own hands. Funny where the system will now go after him and has all these resources and money to go after that sheriff up in Kentucky that took care of something that the state knew that was going on. Isn't that funny? Maybe he'll take that to a federal court and say, I tried. Who was I going to report it to? Because he was so deeply ingrained in the state and state government, friend of the governor, and all this other shit that was going on. Who was I going to tell to make this stop? You can't. And nobody would believe. And then that would have taken to ruin me, and then they would have watched me, and then everything else, and then that would have ruined my life. If I'm going to ruin my life or I'm going to deal with it, that's that guy just turned around. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to shoot the bastard. When the system fails, it then becomes a duty of the people. And people are being punished for that. And that is wrong under the Constitution because your system failed. Your system that covered up for dirty bastards like that, the same thing that they've been doing here in my county that's being exposed. People in the school system covering up for the teacher. People that the DA getting off with, all this other things. 6 months probation, he's back at it. Wasn't until people took and made the noise that the state suspended his teaching license for 2 years. Still not good enough. This is somebody that has admitted to doing these things. And they get a slap on the wrist. You know why? Because they make more money with a repeat offender. Think about that for a minute. That's scary as hell. The state makes more money, the county, the local government, everything else makes more money if that person is turned loose back into the same environment or into a different environment, into a different state, and does the same thing again. This dude in 20 years, I think it was up to 80 kids. That's 80 families now that have to deal with that destruction. While the officials of not only the school board, not only the school board, but local government and judicial officials of not doing anything, covering up. Buddy system. Did you notice what that officer said in there? He talked about that good old boy system being a real thing. Yeah, it is. Because if those sheriffs were doing their jobs, here's the other thing. They wouldn't be sending deputies out with CPS. You know why? They'd be arresting the officials that wrote that says they have to come in and do those things because there's not criminal activity. That's misappropriation of funds and resources. Show me where they have to come up with this. Well, they're a state agency. That's called intimidation. We guys showed it to you in the videos that were coming on, including Kentucky, including in Tennessee and everything else. We're going to send officers out to do what? To intimidate or coerce me to come and intimidate me to violate constitutional rights or the Fourth Amendment? You know you have to have a warrant. You have to. It's a must. Federal case law even says it about CPS. That's right. You guys can look on the page about that too. The same way as questioning people, children, on private property that listen up, CPS, you don't like it, go look up the case law because it's a real damn thing. Questioning people for purposes of a CPS and investigation on private property is a form of seizure under the Fourth Amendment. That is established federal case law, and yet your policies and procedures don't correct for those case laws saying we can't do this anymore. Why? Because it's better to run the risk of getting caught and only paying out on it's a percentages games. They've actually had an analyst go through and say, where can we make more money by implementing and correcting this and being constitutionally, or just paying out on the cases that people are educated enough that we actually get caught? And they've run that risk assessment. Every business does. And that's exactly what they've done. Risk assessment. How many people are coming up? Well, they're too stupid to turn around and do this because we didn't educate them about their constitutional rights. So they ain't going to know to run to the federal court and file a constitutional rights violation things in there. So you guys got to turn around. You guys got to figure this stuff up. That's why they hate what we're doing. We're educating people. We're turning around and telling you, hey, look at this. Here, take the time to do this. And you got a lot of people out there, and I'll be dead nuts honest with all of you, even with advocates and everything. If you refuse to wipe your own butt and advocate for your own self and your own children, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't. Because then your kids are not worth enough for you to educate yourself and fight. Shame on you. Shame on you for not fighting for your kids. That you're a disappointment. That's a very big disappointment. And I've had people get to that point. I'm not doing this for you. And I don't care if it's male or female. And there's been many a female offer several things to help or do that. Sorry, I don't play that game. I am not that guy. Those wilies do not work on me. Sorry, have a nice day. Now, we don't play that. I'm very familiar with all sorts of manipulation by both male and female, and that doesn't work. Sorry, not that person. You've been trained wrong that every guy is this. Sorry, hate that for you. Cold, huh? No, that's called having boundaries and understanding circles and understanding I don't trust you. And anybody willing to do that are the same people that I see when they get messed up on drugs that will sell their same damn kid for a fucking rock or a fucking hit in my fucking lifetime experience every single time. No. If you're not willing to fight and educate yourself to the best of your ability, to the very best, even if it means you going back to school, learning the ins and outs, it's not that difficult. It's really, really, really simple. It really is. People make it harder than what it is. Use the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. It's just simple. Finding the rules that you got to follow and stay within the lanes. But when people are coming up, do this for me, and I'm not going to do that. You know what? You could do that when you got tons of money. and you don't feel like dealing with it, even though you know how to deal with it, you're going to pay somebody else to deal with it, but at least you're going to review it and agree to it and understand what you're doing, not have somebody do it for you. I just don't. And so many advocates I know that have come to me of saying people just will not advocate for themselves. They want somebody to do it for them. And a lot of advocates, they're not even getting paid. They're doing it out of the kindness of their own heart, just to take and fight because it's something they believe in. But when people will not help themselves, that becomes a problem for a lot of this. And that's speaking from, that's reporting the truth. And I hear it all the time. And guys, you've got to stick up, and you've got to do the same. You've got to know your boundaries. Even with you guys out there trying to help other people, establish some boundaries. Make it clear to those that you're trying to assist or anything, I will help you, but I'm not going to do it for you. And when they refuse to do that, as they say, dust your feet off and move to the next town or the next house. Because those people, they just use people. And that's their cycle. And that is something you do not want to perpetuate, even onto anybody, because that's toxic traits. Let me tell you something. There's other mothers I've seen, people, and both men and women, that love their kids to death and have dumped their soul into finding any and every way possible out there, research, studying, getting adequate. I've seen some even get to the point, man, they're right up there with paralegals and a lot of, I mean, they understand a lot, and they're still learning, and they're trying to find the way to do this and that. And some of them even got to the point they won. And like I said, and they're exhausted at the end, and you're right, it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way under our Constitution, but this is Marxism. This is Marxism going after our children to get control of America and overthrow this government. Because what did they do? They automatically moved in. They removed the thing with, and you're going to say that this, whatever, you have extreme Muslims of this and that come in here that want to overthrow our country, that specifically say, and they say it out loud, to replace the Constitution with the Quran and live under the Quran in this. And it's happening over in Europe. And the people have finally had enough of it because they've seen exactly what's doing. They're trying to overthrow their country. And it's a war being fought without guns, without tanks, without our big military installation that we have. You know, the war machine that we have here in this United States. They're doing it softly, and they're doing it from within without a shot. And you guys need to wake up to this. And our country needs to wake up to this. There was a reason, even throughout history, that we have banned people of that religion from this, because their religion basically says to overthrow a government is their whole narrative. And you guys go, hey, there's peaceful this or great, but there are extremists. There are this and that comes right hand in hand with it. And we're seeing it all over the news and everything. Even when this, people saying, hey, I pray that, Islam comes in and that ISIS comes in. And those are people that are living in Michigan, New York City, places down in Texas, and all these other things where they're there, that they're talking about death to this country. Why are they not immediately being deported after them saying that? That's a violation of the immigration clause for them to even be here, even to be here on a visa legally. That's an automatic deportation thing. But it's not. And now everybody's throwing a fit. Listen, you guys better wake the hell up, because they're going after a lot of these things. You've got people that used to be safe places to walk in Europe or in England or in France, that now women are having to carry knives and hatchets and everything else because they're a fear of being raped by Muslim men. It's not a joke. Here, they're scared to shitless. Why? Because we have the Second Amendment. We'll just shoot the bastard. Yeah. But they're not going after the women that are trained or anything else. What are they doing? They're targeting the young ones, the this and that, and all the ones that are under the age that don't have those weapons, or the liberal ones that don't even have this and that. And It's happening across this country. And once again, that's not anything you're going to see reported on any major media news outlet. But when you talk to people in that area, you will understand they are having a huge issue with this. In the towns surrounding those that are in Dearborn, Michigan, and this and that, it's spreading like a disease into the other towns, trying to affect this. They're trying to do it in New York City. They're trying to do all sorts of places. They're overtaking those things, and then they're and here's the issue: they're infringing upon everybody else's constitutional rights. Because what? We're praying in the middle of the street. We're praying, I have the right to travel. I have the right to do this and that. You are impeding my rights. You're violating a constitutional right. You are breaking the law. Where is law enforcement to actually do their damn job? Start arresting them. There was another one to where there was an honor killing of somebody that was going on to where their daughter had moved out and didn't want to take and deal with the things they do, or married to somebody else in another country. And the father tried to unalive the kid walking to high school, tried to kill her. And I think they got off on it. Because of what? Because they were claiming what? Religious freedom. I have the right to do this. Well, you just tried attempted murder. Well, we're allowed to do that under our religion. See, that's a conflict of interest right there. Well, guys, I hope this catches you up on a lot of things. It's great to be back. Like I said, feeling a little bit better. I'm doing the best I can. Once again, it's been a rough little bit with this sickness and everything else going through this stuff. Yeah, I was fighting shingles and have been for like a month and a half, and a lot of pain. Wasn't fun. Really messed with a lot of things, but once again, trying to get back, healing up. Once again, even found a company too that does yellow root juice. Like I said, there's upcoming show too. Like I said with Becca, keep plugged into our page and everything else. Keep following us. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. We have our page there. Don't forget to check out our other new show with Henry there. I know Becca's got a new show coming out tomorrow night. We'll see what goes on. Depends on some situations and everything. We have Beauty and Ashes tomorrow about 9 o'clock, but that may change because there may be some other things that we have to take care of as far as some federal filings and stuff like that. And if that's the case, we'll see if she can get back in enough time to take and do those things. But once again, priority one for us, understanding both me and Sharon, as I know a lot of our team and everything else out there now understand we only take and we can produce it. We do have a very large team that's working with us. Some of those you're not going to hear about until later because they're kind of like secret weapons and everything else. We don't want to put them out in public, but I want to publicly go out and have a huge shout out for those that are out there that are helping us with our case and everything else and working with us. Huge team, PIs, all sorts of other things, other researchers, so on and so forth, other people that are part of, the Breaking News Network team, such and so on and so forth, and those extended families. A huge thanks out to those that are not seen right now, but also understand the reason they're not seen is for their own safety right now. We don't want some of that stuff to come out. Why? Because there's a lot out there that a lot of people don't understand. We have to protect certain people because we want to make sure that their safety is of the utmost importance as well, because some of this stuff, especially with coming out, especially with information with national child trafficking and international child trafficking, that yes, we do have the evidence of that as well as those helping us with a lot of our filings, a lot of our research. There's still people coming in with more evidence. And I'm not going to say too much because, when it comes to other things, but we talked about CPS workers flipping. Yes, there is a really good possibility. I will tell you that we have a CPS worker from our own state that has flipped, that will be, one, I believe, having some evidence for us to go over, as well as being put on the stand, as well as possibly a former judge and or some magistrates that are coming forward in Tennessee talking about this, that they're fully aware of this and corruption in several different counties. Once again, we're not going to get into too much of that, but understand this case is blowing up. It's now 2 states, which has opened the door to all 50. Guys, we told you this was going to happen. But go out there and kick some butt, and understand that, like I said, this is just crazy. But guys, I appreciate everything. We'll see you next week. Anything else you guys need, reach out to me on Facebook. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm a little behind on some things. But like I said, we're going to get back in the saddle. We're going to kick ass, and we're going to get you guys updated and everything else that's going on. Have a great night. We're going to see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great time, and stay safe. Keep educating and loving on each other. And don't forget, it's never that bad. Lift your heads up high, because redemption is drawing near and people are going to be held accountable.